Hello again, and welcome to the program. I am Suren. Question: why do people care so much about what happens in other countries? Like wars, revolutions, politics, just as it was in the past. Mitchell Peterson wrote an answer to this question and other related issues between telecommunications and growing sense of global community, remembering that we are more connected today than ever before. The following delivered by Charlie Chaplin in one of his first speaking roles, and that is probably more relevant than what we may think today. He said, "I am sorry, but I don't want to be an emperor. That's not my business. I don't want to rule or conquer anyone. I should like to help everyone, if possible, even gentle black man and white. We all want to help one another. Human beings are so like that. We want to live by each other's happiness and not despise one another. In this world, there is room for everyone, and a good earth is rich and can provide for everyone. The way of life can be free and beautiful, but we have lost the way. Greed has poisoned mankind's soul and has barricaded the world with hate, has goose-stepped us into misery and bloodshed. We have developed speed, but we have shut ourselves in the machinery that gives abundance, and it has left us in want. Our knowledge has made us cynical, our cleverness hard and unkind, waiting too much and feel too little. More than machinery, we need humanity. More than cleverness, we need kindness and gentleness. Without these qualities, life will be violent and all will be lost. The aeroplane and radio have brought us closer together. The very nature of these inventions cries out for the goodness in men, cries out for the universal brotherhood, for the unity of us all. Even now, my voice is reaching millions throughout the world. Millions of despairing men, women, and little children, victims of a system that makes men torture and impress innocent people. To those who can hear me, I say, do not despair. The misery that is now upon us, but the passing of greed, the bitterness of men, of fear, has become the way of human progress. The hate of men will pass, and dictator die, and the power they took from the people will return to the people. And so long as men die, liberty will never perish. Soldiers, don't give yourselves to brutes, men who despise you, enslave you, who regiment your lives, tell you what to do, what you think, and what to feel, who drill you, diet you, treat you like cattle, use you as a cannon fodder. Don't give yourself to these unnatural men, machine men with machines and machine hearts. You are not machines. You are not cattle. You are men. You have the love of humanity in your heart. You don't hate, only the unloved hate. The unloved and the unnatural. Soldiers, don't fight for slavery, fight for liberty. In the 17th chapter of St. Luke, it is written, "The kingdom of God is within men, not one nor a group of men, but an old man in you. You, the people, have the power to create machines, the power to create happiness. You, the people, have the power to make this life free and beautiful, to make this life a wonderful adventure. Then, in the name of democracy, use that power." As it was, all to unite. There was fight for a new world, a decent world that will give men a chance to work, that will give you a future and in old age security. By the promise of these things, birds have risen to power, but they lie. They do not fulfill that promise. They never will. Dictators free themselves, but they enslave the people. Now that fight to fulfill that promise, let us fight to free the world, to do away with national barriers, to do with greed, with hate and intolerance. That is a fight for a world of reason, a world where science and progress will lead to all man's happiness. Soldiers, in the name of democracy, let us all unite. From the final speech from the great dictator. Titus Puleo has written on time the following. People tended to stay out of other people's problems, especially when it came to foreign matters. People then also cared for those in their own fair influence on communities. We stayed out of World War I, 1914 to 1918, as long as we did, because it was not our business. "I'm speaking as an American," he said. "Nobody in the US wanted to send their sons and fathers to the slaughterhouse, which is called Verdun, Tannenberg, Gallipoli, the Somme, and even the naval battle of Jutland. All folks did keep up with it, and few joined the French foreign legions and fought, but the overwhelming vast majority of Americans felt they didn't have a dog in fight." One could see the same during the Spanish Civil War, 1936 to 1939. There were many who kept up with that war, but nobody wanted US forces to be involved. Again, some fought in it, a little less than 3,000, and even formed the Abraham Lincoln Brigade, voted with the Republican side against Franco. Shortly after World War II broke out, and again the US stayed out. The fact was, we weren't ready, and the majority of Americans didn't want to be involved with it until 7th of December, 1941. Ever since, the US has become one of those sticking their nose into almost every conflict on the planet, from supplying the belligerents, advising same to be out and out being involved in the wars. Even today, there are lots and lots of people who want to get involved in foreign wars, especially in Ukraine. Some see it as being against aggression. Some see it as a crusade against Russian or the old Soviet expansion. And most just follow the Western media's narrative. Even though only promoting peace, by all means, crowds, and not all, had no problem sending our sons and daughters into that war. There have been a number of dictators throughout the history. There are still dictatorships now. Hell, we even trade with many, buying their oil, buying their minerals, buying their iPhones, and even support some of those by selling them weapons, advising and training their forces. And yes, even now, still, Americans enlist intelligence to fight against some of them. Most forget that many of the first people who came to the US came from countries that were always in some state of war or wanting to escape and come to the home of peace to achieve their own successes and be free from kings and emperors. Some do so even today, but somehow the majority of citizens have just forgotten where they came from. There was a time. Carl Hamilton contributes, why do people care more about politics now than they did a few decades ago? When you really think about it, people today do not really care more about politics now than they did a few decades ago. That's the fact. If anything, it's the opposite, right? People have very poor understanding of ideology, their own class, or what struggle is going on. The extreme emphasis on virtue signaling and valuing politics is an assured sign that people do not understand or care about the larger social or global issues, except climate change. I will give you an example. Anti-war demonstrations. No protest for US progressing in Syria or any of the other legal activities the US has engaged in around the world recently. I think it is safe to say that when it comes to this sort of important policy, the US government can more or less do whatever it wants, and people no longer care. The enthusiasm for political struggle in the modern Western world is at an all-time low from what I can tell. There are no serious movements for reforming the Western political systems, with nearly everyone dealing in their petty problems rather than large issues. Baptiste Rebillard contributes. Let us face it, when you have a roof, a car, running water at home, electricity, some food, and access to the internet and television, you already are feeling too comfortable to revolt. But it still happens in some countries in which the government is too harsh. For someone to revolt, he or she needs the following. 1. A good reason. You need to be really mad at something, thinking that violence will be the best or the only and perhaps even the last answer. 2. More to win from the revolution than from the current situation. 3. People agree with your cause. That is, if you don't have at least 50% of the people joining your cause. Not a revolution it is an evolution. 4. A leader who will have enough courage to start the revolution, even if it means getting killed from the very beginning and nothing happens yet, resulting in a useless death. This is basically it. There is a link to revolutions on the 21st century in Wikipedia. You can look for it on the social media if you like. People to revolt. Just maybe not in your country because they do not feel the need right now. Or do they? But take away their money, their roof, their job, and their car, and 50% of them will be in this situation. Believe me, you will have a revolution. This is why I think prosperity is the best solution to avoid war in this world. Every time you make someone poor, you get a little bit closer to the revolution or the war. Every time you help someone getting richer, you get a little bit more closer to the peace. Here is yet another question. Why do people glorify war? Alexander Fortier answers it this way. Because they are the perceptions of war in disagreement with reality. I have never been a soldier, he says. I've never been to war, and I have a relatively idyllic life. But I have read enough to know that war is not kittens and rainbows, and a hero with good guys fighting the bad guys. And often there are no bad guys, just humans. They march off thinking they will be heroes. Well, I don't think any of them will come back with that same view. Many of them get PTSD, and some of them don't make it. War is cruel and brutal, no matter with what the cause of the war, or in very rare cases, is necessary. The slaughter of human beings for petty squabble is cold and harshness. It is often senseless, and I am not sure if you can feel happy winning that Purple Heart when reflecting on the friends you have lost in service. There are many forms of media which have romanticized war, but I don't actually believe film and other media are a problem. No, most people can tell the difference between fact and fiction. However, I believe that it is based upon something different, of a different background. How does world view play a part? Why would a poor stubborn kid be generally happy with life, have the same views as somebody who has grown up as the son of a farmer? Or what of the view of the street kid? Or of a rich kid who grew up feeling large and important? This affects your worldview and outlook. Your views of violence, nonviolence, war, etc. are the amalgamation of the people and thoughts that have been around your whole life. The son of a Quaker will have vastly different views than the son of a military general. Your friends influence this too. People romanticize war because they have been deluded. Reality seems to fix that. What is it good for? The answer is absolutely nothing. Dex Train writes, why do people feel pride for fighting and defeating the Nazis. There was something about people facing death together to protect those. They laugh, that makes us get emotional. And wars are full of emotion: grief, anger, revenge, sorrow, happy reunions, patriotism, honor, loyalty. People are social animals. We live, work, have fun in large groups. So it makes sense that we would also fight in groups. Wars are primarily for patriotic reasons, from the perspective of the soldier. People fight for their nation or community because it is what they know and value. Better to stick to what you know, and there is a need to protect that what we value. There is also a sense of duty and fate. Most people will be born, live and die without contributing anything special. Not everyone can be a brilliant scientist or a history-defining general. We humans search for some meaning in this great, big universe of ours, some purpose to live for. You know, religion is a good supplier of meaning, but not the purpose. It is too impersonal. So people search for some purpose. This purpose can be found in religious devotion, specific jobs, doctors, firefighters. It can be achieved through sacrifice, devotion to children, devotion to our nation or community. This search is for a purpose, which often leads people to the most noble of pursuits, which has always been sacrificing yourself for a, shall we say, good reason. Every movie that shows someone sacrificing themselves for others portrays that person is noble, honorable, and brave. I just imagine a soldier sacrificing himself for his friends while sad. Motivational song plays in the background. Giving your life away to save someone else usually provides one with a peaceful feeling of fulfillment and conclusion. You find your purpose to save others from your fate. What is being really glorified? Because it is highly emotional. Because we are afraid of raising those who have sacrificed themselves for us, our community. Well, maybe deplorable, but the people who volunteer to die for us or not. There is also history and politics. A vast majority of historical leaders have used patriotism to entice people to join the army. Death for your country was portrayed as the most honorable cause. Centuries of this kind of indoctrination has led us to believe that it actually might be true. This kind of indoctrination is the thing I resent even now. People are willing to die for their nation. A majority of people do not experience war firsthand, which makes it easier to underestimate its horror. When one does not know the reality of war, when they may only see the more patriotic elements and view war as an absolute necessity or even a tool for good. War inspires unity and creates a common goal for a particular nation, at least in our idealized view of it. Why do people feel or felt pride for fighting and defeating the Nazis? What is often a large-scale confrontation of good versus evil, evil being the enemy? What are essentially real-life representations of mythology? In short, the reasons are largely based on propaganda and our impersonal experience and beliefs of war. Caroline Franklin writes the following: "It has to be out of ignorance. War is a game, a stupid game in which all players lose. It's a moneymaker for businessmen. It glorifies men we have no other way to glorify. It provides power for men who have no power over others or self. It is a distraction from the misery of failure for some men. Men could refuse to go to war if they wanted to. Who is going to stop them? Yes, someone will be executed to force others to obey. But those few boys who refused to go to Vietnam were examples of intelligence and selflessness. They stood for life and common sense. The war is only to kill. Kill out of pleasure. It serves no other purpose. Ultimately, both sides lose." Kathy Genny writes, "Why do people glorify military?" Good question. It is a tool for the government, just as in times of war, evoking God and supporting that if you die, you will go to a wondrous place. The afterworld, remember? Do you have time for war, especially when governments put forward the reward of glory in heaven to the young and new to incite them to want to go to war? Do not be afraid to go out and die. All governments do this as a matter of propaganda. What young person would want to go into battle if they thought that death was anything more than just motoring into the ground, and all that they are or will be forever being used as a force of arms for some political game made by old people in a far distant government office? Yes, it is a form of minor brainwashing to instill into new recruits these values, and a sense of humiliation you will face when not going forward bravely. If they did not do this, who in the world would go fighting wars? All people in high offices have been sending the young to their ultimate death since the beginning of time under the banners of glory, faith, and honor. Just think about it. Scholt Hermann, an orthopedic surgeon, writes, quite interestingly, "Why do some people like war instead of peace? Because we are unable to resolve issues peacefully, as we simply do not have the devices, mindset, software to do so. We are all born with an inherently self-serving, self-justifying, egocentric, innately competitive nature. Our conflict resolution consists of convincing, overcoming, defeating, humiliating the other from within the family to the levels of international relations. Our inherent operations or operating systems we have installed simply cannot make any other calculations, any true compromise, subjugating, accepting the opinions of another over our own is forbidden, and is out by our instinctive operating software. This is not our fault or our sin, evilness we have created with such a nature by evolution. This gives us an opportunity to to consciously recognize the destructive nature of the ego and to proactively and purposefully search for a second nature, an evolutionary upgrade that allows us to overcome the blind, inherent ego and survive altogether. In order to find peaceful, sustainable solution and resolutions, in order to rebuild human society on mutually responsible and mutually complementing connections, resembling other natural living systems around us, we need to go through a unique, purposeful, and practical educational method which can teach us how to neutralize, harness our egoistic, hateful, and greedy urges for the sake of the whole collective, individually benefiting, prospering through the benefits and prosperity of the whole collective. A history enthusiast, Caldwell writes, "Why is the world becoming too war-minded?" That's a good question. "I am in conflict," he says, "with it, and it is fairly normal for human activity, and given the scale of our population, its density, modern communications, education, and the global scale of resources and frontiers. Needless to say, we tend to get a lot of warfare, not least because the major powers, USA, Russia, and China, have been the main exporters of arms and patrons of proxy wars. What has made a difference? Some parts of the world was desired to avoid the calamities of the world wars of the previous century. The United Nations was to provide a forum for contentious politics and resolution of issues and the enforcement of humanitarian issues. NATO, to offset Russian aggression and expansionism, not surprisingly, has applied to join NATO 3 times and always refused. But China has grown as a superpower. Russia now has a messianic sociopath in charge who believes he has a destiny, and America has shown some signs of getting tired of being the world's police officers. So, confrontations of a much more dangerous kind are more likely to happen. That's where we are at. I do have discovered this frightening human nature in my younger days. And for me, it was then easier to use a genuine excuse not to participate in the common human dilemma. My excuse being truly I wish to educate myself in the subjects I was interested in, to contribute creatively to the society of humans, wherever it might be, and wherever I might find myself at, and not to annihilate them, although there were other unwanted elements surrounding me, were cultist groups of people trying to convince me, as they did with the other members of the younger generation, to avoid the glorification of the war, which was very amazing. However, their idea was, unfortunately, to serve only their cause of providing a non-existing or preaching about the end of this world and their supposed efforts towards kingdom of God. However, what would happen if humans were advanced enough in their evolutionary pathways to avoid conflicts altogether and unite in oneness in their efforts assisting one another forwards and towards a better future? Now that is a question. When we speak of a better future, perhaps we are talking about something more utopian. It is usually and widely understood concept referring to a desired state of improvement and progress for oneself, for society, or humanity, though its definition can vary from personal inspirations to produce societal or environmental goals. A utopian way of thinking may be far better in future terms and may be unrealistic as considered by some. The concept serves a powerful motivator for positive change, encouraging actions in love, compassion, and empathy to build more peaceful and hopeful realities. What do we mean really when we speak of a better future? Personal aspirations. For people, a better future might mean achieving goals, improving their circumstances, or simply living a more meaningful life. Societal progress. On a large scale, it can represent to society with greater peace, justice, and opportunity for all. In environmental goals, it can also encompass a future where humanity lives in harmony with nature, with sustainable material base for survival and evolution. What could be the key elements of a better future? Optimism and hope. Believing in the possibility of a better future is essential for driving change. Positive values. A future built on love, compassion, and empathy often creates a foundation for improvement. Planning and action. Realizing a better future requires setting goals, making plans, and actively working to achieve them. Focus and discipline. A consistent effort and a direct approach are necessary to build and realize positive future outcomes. In essence, better future is a vision of progress and improvement, at arriving for positive change that inspires individuals and communities to strive for a more desirable and fulfilling existence for all humanity. A better future means a meaningful future. A better life means a meaningful life, which contributes to a better future. A better future can only be a future that can sustain into an endless future that leads humans into the endless survival through the generational chain. Currently, more accepted meaning of a better life is a material wellness. A better future, that means the material wealth for more affluent near future, regardless what that will cost for the future generations' survival. Let's call it the meaning of better life in the future, if you like, or a meaningless and groundless dream. Maybe not even realistic, but we cannot take them as absolutely as at this stage true and put them into social practice. And that can cause irreversible damages for the material existence, for the future of humans, and probably leading to human extinction. The real value may be intrinsically limited in any local space, and the human cannot really create the actual value. For the human depends on real values to evolve and utilize the real value conditions. Currently known and experienced economy cannot create wealth, but instead altering the real value into a useful state and even probably consuming it. And this process would not be reversible. However, the rational humans and their final goal can only be survival into an endless future through the evolutionary chain, but not necessarily chasing material wealth to live a materially affluent life. Therefore, a meaningful life can only be an endless life, and a meaningful future can only be an endless future. A limited life, but evolution probably waiting to be recycled by nature. For a limited future cannot be a future at all. It really is indeed no future. We can consider our past and certainly our defeats, our shortcomings and failures, and the things that happened which were beyond our control, like a fog on the mirror. Are we then really servants of the past? Or are we perhaps something more? We certainly do not know what we should do. Although many people might have told you and me and all of us since our childhood days so many things. But remember, we are the architects and creators of our own happiness. Can you get better at it? Well, it depends on you. How can we improve our lives towards a better future? That's a good question. A consistent early morning and bedtime routine may give you another level of productivity and satisfaction in life. B, the main advice is to deactivate your social media accounts which you use for fun or for mindless scrolling and conquering your fear of missing out. You might be surprised how this social media detoxification can help you mentally. C, stop watching the news. It's almost as harmful as what sugar is for your body. D, do some physical exercises and some dietary changes without ignoring your well-being and your health. E, you can read books, listen to intellectuals, podcasts, or YouTube channels. F, invest as early as you can start. G, utilize discipline. Only discipline can truly work for you in life. If you have no discipline, you are a slave to your own moods, and as it was said, your dopamine or dopamine rush. H, don't look for perfections in your life. This can only lead you to demotivation and abuse of self. I, jot down your experiences, if you like, and to-do list as soon as you can. J, if you look around you, you'll discover that really and truly nobody cares about what you can do. Do not brag, but start showing, and if this helps you, I will feel absolutely fulfilled. In short and sweet, the real advice and a good advice is this. Meditate every day, even if it is just for 10 minutes, and increase the time as you feel comfortable with it. Begin with caring, loving, and also adoring yourself. If you must, you can consider the life itself as being like a god, Never consider about ending your existence, because remember that even the physicality may die, your desires will never die. Read every day for expanding your consciousness. It helps. Beyond your ego, have a sharp focus. If you are considering a better future, you need to do some planning at the present. Plan and then start working towards it. Create new memories and love again. If you can love again, you can live again and longer. Believe it or not. If you don't like the things you do not treat others in that way either. Indeed, the universal consciousness, who does everything. We're not talking about God. Somebody else said, a better life is a life where one does not have to worry about the basic things of life, like food, water, shelter, good healthcare system, and also there is no strife. A better future is actually the foundation of how well we plan our daily activities. Developing a good routine includes waking up in time, having a regular bedtime and exercise time, and keeping yourself free of stress. Keeping oneself away from distractions like social media and other platforms, as these truly cause you to compare yourself to others. Even if you have deactivated your account on the social media for just 6 months, you will see the benefits without being distracted by anything or anyone. Make use of your time well. You can go to gym, do meditations, because it will take you to the next level. You will see certainly dramatic results. Reading books, traveling, making friends, doing good things in your life, listening to podcasts or YouTube programs, and learning other people's journeys and your own, then you will see the difference you can make in your life. Do not settle for less than your best. Work on your health and your skills, and you will become a legend. Good advice. Have a disciplined life. Think about what you want to accomplish. If people do not accept you, it is not your fault, your journey, or don't even try to impress them, and just keep on to your own existence and building whatever you try to create. Be positive and have positive affirmations whenever you can, since anything you say becomes your reality. Keep a notebook about what's going well in your life and write down your experiences every morning or at night. That is one way of relieving stress. Thinking fresh and sleeping better. Whatever you see as good, you can jot down too. And don't expect others to agree with you. And don't be afraid of showing your results. Remember, every good thing takes time. Be patient. Let us end this episode here for now, until we meet you again. We will meet you by the next episode. Keep smiling and be really happy. Thank you.
you.